We've seen some dramatic midnight moves in Indian politics before. Remember the surprise swearing in? Devendra Fadnavis sworn in the wee hours.
Me, Devendra Gangadhar Rao Fadnavis.
Well, now we have another midnight appointment. This time it's the appointment of India's Chief Election Commissioner. Gyanesh Kumar is the new CEC, and his appointment happened despite a strong dissent from the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi. And the government timed it in between crucial court hearings. Now, why are these hearings crucial? Because the new law pushed through by the Modi government on how a CEC should be elected has been challenged in the Supreme Court. If you're wondering why this is a big deal and why you should care, well, if people are going to trust elections, the Election Commission has to be neutral. Not just in reality, but in perception too. The way the CEC is chosen needs to project the structural integrity of the election process. And let's be honest, this isn't coming out of nowhere. In the past few years, a shadow of doubt has crept over many of Election Commission's decisions. From blatant favoritism to unexplained voter-related data, there's been a growing concern about whether the Election Commission is truly independent. Because make no mistake, the person who holds this position can shape the future of our democracy. This week, the News Minute completes 11 years. That's 11 years of telling stories from across South. Stories that Noida newsrooms ignored or twisted. 11 years of reporting on issues that others stayed away from, either because of political pressure or corporate influence. I have spent over 11 years working in many of these mainstream newsrooms. And believe me, I know the difference between being a journalist there and being one here at the News Minute. So as we celebrate this milestone, I want to hear from you. What has the News Minute's journalism meant to you? Has our work informed you, challenged your views, or made you think differently? Do write to us and let us know. I will read your emails at the end of every show. But hey, let's not stop at just that. Thousands of you watch Let Me Explain every single week. But how many of you take that extra step to support independent journalism? How many of you take the step to support me and my team? This is your moment. Subscribe to the News Minute today. And here's the best part. When you buy an annual subscription this week, you get to gift one for free. So pause this video for a bit, scan the QR code on your screen right now, or you can even click the link in the description after the video. But make sure that you continue watching Let Me Explain every single week. It drops on Saturday. Now back to the Election Commissioner. A big announcement on Monday night has stirred a bit of a controversy in India. The President of India appointed Gyanesh Kumar, the current Election Commissioner, as the CEC, and Vivek Joshi, Haryana's Chief Secretary, is stepping in as the new Election Commissioner, while Sukhbir Singh Sandhu is staying on completing the 3-member ECI. Now, if you're wondering why this is a big deal, let me break it down for you. The concern here is that these overnight appointments might be an attempt by the Modi government to rush things before the court rules on this law. The new appointments are based on a controversial law passed by the Union government in 2023. And this act is currently being challenged in the Supreme Court. And here too, it's important to point out the chronology.
आप chronology समझ लीजिए.
In 2023, the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court was hearing a public interest litigation. The PIL demanded that the process of appointment of members of the Election Commission be reformed. The PIL was simple: have a mechanism to elect election commissioners. Because up until that point, there was no such mechanism. Appointments were made by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister, and seniority was usually the basis. When institutions like the National and State Human Rights Commission, the CBI, Information Commission, Lokpal all have independent mechanisms for appointments, the Parliament of India till then had brought in no law for Election Commission appointments. So on March 2nd, 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that the selection of the CEC and election commissioners should be handled by a committee. Now, this committee was to have the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India. The Supreme Court said that the Parliament should enact a law, and up until then, the committee will function. What was the Supreme Court's goal? It was to make sure that the process is more independent and relatively free from the influence of the ruling government. So, what should the Modi government have ideally done? They should have either gone with the Supreme Court ruling or improvised it to make it better, to make it more independent. Instead, the Modi government brought in the CEC and the other ECs Act. This new law took what the Supreme Court said but gave it a twist, a dangerous twist. Instead of a 3-member panel having the CJI, as the Supreme Court suggested, the Modi government decided to put a union cabinet minister in the selection committee. So the committee will have a cabinet minister, his boss the prime minister, and the leader of opposition. So in short, the government had a pretty strong grip on the process. Understandably, people weren't too happy about this, and a group of petitioners went to the Supreme Court asking for the law to be reconsidered before the next CEC was appointed. This became urgent, especially since the then CEC Rajiv Kumar was about to finish his term on Feb 18th. But the court didn't act quickly enough, and on Feb 12th, they decided to push the hearing to Feb 19th. And on Feb 19th, it was pushed again to March 19th. And the government, in a tearing hurry, went ahead and made the appointments. A meeting was held between Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, and Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi on Feb 17th. And just hours later, Gyanesh Kumar's appointment was publicly announced. An outnumbered Rahul Gandhi, of course, had little say in the process. Rahul Gandhi has since made it clear that he disapproved of the way the selection was made, stating that he'd submitted a dissent note to both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. He said that by violating the Supreme Court order and removing the Chief Justice of India from the committee, the Modi government had added to the concerns of hundreds of millions of voters over integrity of our electoral process. He also pointed out that it was both disrespectful and discourteous for the Prime Minister and Home Minister to have made a midnight decision to select the new CEC, especially when the hearing was due in less than 48 hours. But hey, let's pause here for a moment. Is this all just technical details? Why should you be bothered about all this? For that, we need to take a look at exactly what the Election Commission's job is. The ECI is responsible for conducting elections at both the national and state levels. It decides how elections are held, when they are held, and even manages crucial details like voter registration. As India's former CEC S.Y. Qureshi has stated in his book, an independent election commission is a gift from the Constitution to the nation. In fact, during the debates in the Constituent Assembly, there was even a suggestion to treat the purity and independence of elections as a fundamental right. Dr. Ambedkar, who chaired the drafting committee, pointed out that the committee felt strongly about protecting the independence of elections and avoiding any interference from the executive branch. But the committee ultimately decided to include this in a separate section of the Constitution. In the past, the Election Commission of India has earned a reputation for fairness and neutrality, making headlines with its bold decisions. For example, Bal Thackeray, the founder of Shiv Sena, was once disqualified by the ECI for inflammatory speeches. But in the past decade, the ECI has been pliant. Once a symbol of impartiality and strength, its reputation has steadily declined. The respect it once commanded has all but vanished, and its ability to oversee elections has been severely undermined. Qureshi says in his book that he was shocked by the headlines that he read in December 2021, which said that CEC and 2 election commissioners were summoned by the Prime Minister's office to attend a meeting with the Principal Secretary to the PM. He says that PMO summoning or even inviting not just the CEC but the full bench was in violation of the Constitution, irrespective of how urgent the issue was. Let's take a closer look at how elections are run today. It's clear that the system is deeply flawed. Let's consider the voter rolls. Over years, complaints have been mounting about missing entries, duplicate entries, and even willful deletions and omissions. For example, during the second phase of 2019 Lok Sabha elections, many Muslim voters in Mathura found their names were mysteriously missing from the electoral rolls. No such issues were reported in Hindu majority areas. Similarly, over 700 fishermen in Gujarat had their names erased after their homes were demolished. A news laundry investigation showed that in Farrukhabad, Meerut, and Chandni Chowk, there were illegal voter deletions which eventually seemed to help the BJP. Questions have been raised after many recent elections about how the number of new voters went up drastically, with very few answers coming in from the Election Commission. Then there is, of course, the question of bias. During the 2024 elections, the EC took drastic steps of banning the Aam Aadmi Party's official campaign song, claiming that it portrayed the ruling party and its agencies in poor light. Yet, the BJP has been allowed to run divisive, dog-whistling campaigns targeting not just the opposition parties, but also demonizing the Muslim community. And the lies, well, too damn many to count. The ECI mostly has remained silent or at best sent pointless notices.
और पहले जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। इसका मतलब ये संपत्ति इकट्ठी करके किसको बांटेंगे? जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे हैं उनको बांटेंगे। क्या आपकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा घुसपैठियों को दिया जाएगा? आपको मंजूर है ये?
Rather than holding Modi accountable, the EC sent a notice to BJP President JP Nadda. There have been other curious steps taken by the Election Commission that have not been explained convincingly enough. The Maharashtra elections were not held with Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir. Was this done to allow the BJP and Shinde Sena government to announce a slew of welfare measures? Why does the ECI release the voter turnout numbers much later than it used to before? There have been multiple revisions in voter turnout percentage. Why has that been happening? The EC has claimed that this is because it takes time to tally the voter turnout. But surely, with technology and EVMs, should that process not get faster and more accurate rather than the other way around? And because of all this, many activists and opposition parties have alleged foul play, saying that all this is being done to help BJP win. Look, whether the Election Commission of India has been biased or not will need to be proven with evidence. But the point here is this: they cannot even be seen as being biased, because that will erode the trust in elections, and that's something that a democracy like India just cannot afford. So all politics aside, the question we need to ask ourselves is this: do we need an election commissioner who will hold those in power to account, or just be a cheerleader for the current government? That's it for me for this week. But like I promised, before I go, I will read out emails from our viewers and our subscribers. S. Rajkumar says, I have huge respect for your work and the mission. I've been the News Minute viewer for over 6 months and just want to take a moment to say thank you for your work. I would like to suggest the new education policy as a topic for Let Me Explain, because on theory, it does look good and might not directly impose Hindi, but the implementation of the same raises questions in the Hindi imposing angle. And Rajkumar says that he's become a member of the News Minute and News Laundry at the start of the year, and he'll continue supporting our work. So be like Rajkumar, you too become a subscriber right away. But to his point of raising this NEP issue, I have addressed it partially in a previous episode. I'll put that link in the description so you can watch it again. But we've looked at it in great detail in this week's South Central. If you haven't been following South Central, it's our flagship podcast hosted by Dhanya, Leena and me that drops in every Friday. So you can catch what we have to say about it, what are the details, what is the development, all of it. I've put that link to in the description. Thank you for watching.